I guess this is trend lines in the British pound is the name of this video. Here's the weekly British pound, and I'm using the closing price as my reference to draw trend lines on. And I'm also going to create envelopes on the outside of that. And it's going in a downtrend, so I'm going to capture this last thing here. And this one's just up here for fun, I guess. If I keep zooming out, and you hear people talk about the big picture and all that, keep zooming out. I don't know if you're going to swing trade this over the next few months. If you look at the top becomes a bottom here, and almost the top becomes a bottom here, but this angle here, this rate of change, this, and then the bullish argument is using this as your rate of change here. Now, if you copy this to here, you see the support becomes resistance at an angle. The this bottom becomes this double top at an angle, so coming right up into here, and then you can put the horizontal story on top of that and look for a confluence. Here's a double bottom that becomes a top as you walk up into here. Well, what's the next trade? I'm going to fix the grid here so I can maneuver around. What's the next trade? Well, you know, you got to buy low, sell high, so I'd probably buy down here somewhere. And what would you suspect the trend line that has to hold? See, this is holding here till you get that double on closing prices only. So imagine you had no stops in the market, and that's what most analysts do anyways, videos I've seen. But just in sheer structure, and that rallies up here, it fails, there's this big blast here where they capture all of those, all that big rally up and trap anybody that's thinking that this is going to keep going up here. But it actually went, this is a weekly chart, so we went down and then we rocketed back up there. But this is just the weekly. I don't think anybody's trading the weekly. Here is the double top at that angle. So this is, if this is going to be your rate of change to the upside, here is another bottom becomes a top at an angle. Here is another bottom becomes a top. So what can we expect down here from that concept? That this double top, this should be support. We're going to walk up this channel. Well, if we don't, if it cuts down here, I mean, this will be the setup. Everybody needs a setup. It breaks out of here, comes back up, finds resistance at that line. Sellers should come in. When the market breaks this trend line, comes up, sellers come in. Sellers come in there. So the breadth of the way this, now you could pick a different angle. You could say, well, my angle of entry is going to be a little steeper than that. And you could cue that up, say this break, this angle. And then you copy that. And this is a little too steep. I'm not seeing that same type of confluence. So the market definitely has a, I don't know if it's a moving average or if I think it's just the breadth of the market. But that's a fun exercise to do. If we keep zooming out, so the trick is just like this. I would say it's a downtrend. and you broke outside the channel here. So I've seen this where if you're actually going to buy at that, you're going to be like, oh man, they just blew me out. Now the Andrews Pitchfork people put a thread through the middle here. And when you go through the middle here, just about through the middle here, you can see the, this would be like the moving average, the center, the equilibrium point of the down channel. So this bottom becomes a top, becomes a top. It keeps banging up against the inner thread here. Then it finally clears it, finds support. Here, finds support for a little bit, cuts through, wipes out that, wipes that out. But that's why you would need, and on a weekly, I would say you want to put in more than one of these, because what about this, this bottom here to this bottom? If you connect the dots, bottom, bottom, cuts through, but this is the reference here and again here. So it's an envelope. Channels that are really strict, when people put channels up that are so strict, so what if you're trading in small movements, you're going to have a channel like this where there's an envelope now, and now there's this bottom becomes this double top here. Well, people would say, well, God, how many of those are you going to draw? Well, you can draw as many as you want. Here's a top, becomes a bottom. In time, it's caught in this envelope. This channel here is tradable from this aspect. But being aware of the fact that we have been out here, we could go all the way back out here at some point in time in the future. And what is the up argument? I'm going to pick, this is the major crossover point. That's the major crossover. So if we come up into here, sellers will probably come in there. We got to hold this now. Weekly, we got to hold this channel. We got to walk up this channel, and there's definitely going to be resistance. And you know, whether it's a moving average, I just like channel trading because it's concise, it's sharp. It's bad enough that the market's moving around. To have a moving average moving with the moving market, so price action, and you got a moving average that's kind of lagging. There's no lag on this. Steeper sell-offs. Look at this now. You can see on the weekly chart, it's just really easy to see. Now this does happen on an hourly chart, but the weekly chart is such wonderfully smooth data. So you break through that trend line, you find support here. Now meanwhile, there's a huge void here that's been forming, and here's the other void. So you can see the voids, the channel, and there you go. Here's another void. Blows through the bottom of the channel, and quite the smash down. I think that might be the yeah, that's the Brexit there. But like, if this thing wasn't Brexiting for the past 2 years, now copy this line, and this just helps. Look at this. Same thing here. You have a breakout of that trend line, find support, slight rally up. Here's the other. Now we have to break above this. We're up against that right now. So we're crawling out of the woods there. And if you zoom out one more level, and so if you zoom out too far, you'll be like, wow, man. But I don't think we can trade the left side of the chart. And if you do know that this is the floor that kind of made the channel really, that was the big breakdown in price back there. Kind of went into historical region, never even got back to here. So that's the weekly. Now, if you did the daily, it's not going to be as beautiful. I'm just going to take this grid off here, because we don't care about pips, right? We're just analysts. This is an analyzing. We're not a trader. We're not trading. We don't trade. We analyze the market. Thank you very much. So here you could do the same technique. And so here's the daily. Now this is not going to be as beautiful because you don't have all that smoothing. The weekly smooths it out, but there is a channel here. So if you pick off the you just have to make a. So there's the crossover. Now go for the up side. Here's a major. Double bottom becomes a top. Yeah, these two bottoms becomes resistance. Here's an inflection point here. But it's starting to lose momentum to the downside. Now we broke that. If it comes back to here, sellers would come in. But what if you just bought here because it's new lows and your exit's going to be there, and horizontally speaking, this is support. This is the double bottom on the daily, British pound. That's kind of where you would suspect we're going to go to close that gap. Here's a shallower trend line breakout. Now this is the one to break, the current one to break. So we're left hanging here. Are the sellers going to come in next week, and are we going to start to go into this void beneath? Is it going to start going down there? Who knows? If you're willing to buy, so this top became a double bottom here, and they came in. You can draw this trend line here. I don't know why people are adverse to trend lines. I guess it does take some work to draw these. But look at this. If you're going to draw, even off of here, if you start to drag this across, you know this top exists. You back off, you break out, you pull back, you find support in there. You also have a top bottom here, the ultimate setup. This is a nice, clean, easy setup. And then you could use this as your rollover reference. Here, once again, resistance, double top, breakout, pull back, find support, plus it's getting small. Here's the double bottom. Well, the time, closing prices. This is like a bottom area here. It's not, trading's pretty sloppy. It's not that precise. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 bottom there. And so can this thing get the party started and make a run to here? I'd say first target, if you're in the pound, if you bought this kind of really fast down move, first target, the exit's going to be there. I don't know. It's that simple. 4-hour chart. Well, 4-hour chart's very, very active trading and really a market maker's world of limit orders, I think, and stop orders and actually trading. I don't know if I'd want to hold on to a trade on a weekly time frame. It's not for me. Nice thing about closing prices is that when you switch time frame to the 4-hour, it holds up. Moving averages would totally freak out if I switch time frames where this stays completely static. This top, breakout, pull back, buyers come in. Buyers come in again. Buyers aren't coming in here because this is the new bottom here. 4-hour chart, a lot of great setups on here. Just a pile of orders, a lot of good trades. Here's your classic trap below. Once again, the buyers are going to come in at the bottoms. So where's the bottom? Right there, closing price. So without the order block thing, without the ICT cults, without any of that stuff, this was a level from, this is your inverted head and shoulders. Head and shoulders is a pattern people look at. Oh, is this the shoulder? Is this the head? Is this the shoulder? I guess it's not symmetrical. Maybe this is the shoulder. I'm seeing this top here. Since we're on the 4-hour, I would put a buy limit there. It's going to take a lot of gumption to get back up to this level. That's the floor. That's the low from that week. This is 1 week. Here, you start off the week. I'm still perplexed why people want to make this more complicated, but I guess people love that. They love it. This is obviously some type of supply zone, and people say supply and demand zones don't work. I don't know about that. Consolidation zones, dojis, are revisited. This is a great low price, and this is the high. This is double top, right? The wicks, you're going to enter on the wicks and hold. So if you're swing trading this, without any, when you get down to a hourly chart and a 4-hour chart, it's pretty much non-directional traders clean up and range traders clean up. People that have buy limits at new lows here, sell limits at new highs, sell limits at new highs, sells here. You're up on that trade if you sold that new high. The tactics here are buy limits here, sell limits here, cash out to last known high, buy limits here, cash out back to the fair value. There's a thread running through it. So go to the 1-hour chart. If you're a 1-hour trader, what does the world look like if you're a 1-hour trader? A little easier to trade a 1-hour chart. You know this double bottom exists. You see the sellers come in when we rally back into this low. And where would you want to put a buy limit? At support. You get filled, you cash out, you're caught in this trap. Why does the market crap out here? Because if you look left, you see this bottom, this doji. If you cordon off that doji, and here's another doji breakout, slight pullback, you wick into that window, and it's off to the races. Never made it back to this area, but on the 1-hour chart, all of a sudden it looks like we could make this up here. We could come in here Sunday night and rally off of that. You can do triple top. Top becomes a bottom. How do you know you're in an uptrend? You can draw your first trend line. Can you see the hidden top become a bottom in here? Top becomes double bottom in time. Buy limits are here, all through here. They may pull it back to here, they may not. That'd be the perfect setup trend line to break on the 1 hour is right there. Top, 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 triple top. Here's the bottom, and this is the doji right here. Then market on closing prices, finding support here. If we can hold that, I almost want to say trading block after watching all that trading block. It's all this, the smart money's buying down here. So the scary trade is to place a buy limit here and shit your pants as it comes down here to fill you. Now, the hidden stuff is like here. There's a little doji here. There's a little order block here. And there are people that are like, you know what? It's going up. We have a confirmed uptrend. Don't forget, it made a higher high and trapped these. If you had sell limits up here, now this is 1 hour trading, completely different than daily. I mean, you could say, I'm only a seller, and this would be your sell limit as they trap the bulls. They take it all the way back, but this is another double trap. You see this over and over again. Trap these guys, and then people think, oh, I put sell stops in here, we got trapped here. But what if this is a buy limit? What if you traded backwards? You know, they would say, oh, you got to put that order in there, protection, and this bottom. So anytime the market zigzags, you got to figure this is a order block, and that means something. It's a place people do business. It's a place there's a lot of orders sitting there. And if you had a stop right up in here, I guess they didn't hit your stop. But this window here, this wick window entry. Now from this bottom of this wick, tops become bottoms on wicks, which is a whole nother story. You might want to run just so it jumps out at you. Or you could just look for it, right? It never made it to this for the sells, but once it trapped these, the breakout of this, and I won't say trapped, I just say that the bears have money management. If people move there, anybody that has short the market, institutions, smart money, dumb money, what have you, you know, kangaroos in the zoo, they ride this thing down and they're like, oh man, it's just going to keep tanking, and this is nothing more than a, don't worry about this, it's just going to come back up. Well, they, just to be on the safe side, they put a buy back their shorts here, and they get trapped. This is the 1 hour scalp. So to me, that's a pretty decent scalp. There's certainly a lot of them in here. Here's another where they just take out the ledge on that. So if your sell limits are on closing prices, and you can see this is just a real contentious thing here. And then you can over speculate. It's not illegal yet. You could say, look at this relationship. If you connect this bottom to this top, you have this finding support there. And it's happening for reasons of momentum. If you hang your pivot off of this and you start to drag this line up, now you get the breakout, crossover, pullback, find support here, breaks through, breaks through. Now you could see it come back to here. More likely, give yourself a nice window here, this you know, geometric area to get in. So go to the half-hour chart. What are the half-hour traders? How are they making their money? Kind of the same, very close to the 1 hour traders. Although the half-hour trader gets to see the double bottom here. If you're looking for a trendline break on the half-hour, look how this thing, if you're trading on the clock and you're literally pulling the trigger, every time it rallies and you see it, or you have sell limits up there, which would take some doing, you may have to babysit a half-hour chart. Now you're a day trader. It doesn't mean you can't have a buy limit down here based on this bottom here. So when people talk about the see this low here, does this mean something? Is there, and look how it's if you go right to the bottom of this, you had to be willing to buy those new lows. Never made it down to this, but look at the top become a bottom on the half-hour chart. That's where you want to get in. When an internal top becomes a bottom on the half-hour. So if you think there's order blocks and all that stuff, that's your order block. I don't know why that guy makes it such a mystic thing. That's your order block. It's just nothing but an area, right? This is a block of, this is a consolidation beneath here, where they trapped, right? But as long as you have your buy limits in here, so you get a double bottom here on the half hour. It's just for confirmation. My version of confirmation is I see one bottom and I'm like, okay, I know where support's at. Like, the market just told you where support's at. By the fact that it bounced off of that, apparently that's some kind of support. What if you placed a buy limit to re-enter there? Now, the half-hour chart, once you go to the 15, it may be too much to manage. This is 48 bars a day. You have 48 chances to blow up your account. Top becomes a bottom. Your limits are sitting in this area here. An order block to me is a doji. So if anybody from the ICT club still, the one guy said, I'm never going to watch any of your videos. And I'm like, promise? Oh boy. When you speak out against the religion, the religion of trading, you're up against some serious stuff. People really, they like, how dare you? How dare you say that? The fact that, and I'm telling you where to put orders here. So I'm going to do it myself here. And I got a new script I'm going to publish, a groundbreaking script that my buddy in an undisclosed location in Europe is. He's a guy you'll never meet. There's people I know that you will never meet. So the guy is a hack. He's a good hacker. There's good hackers and bad hackers. He was able to hack my drop pending orders. So finally, for the first time in the history of my iconoclastic angry rants, we have a way to minimize the effort of placing orders. We can place orders in a range here. Precision drop, where you literally put your mouse on the top of that, because you know that exists. This is not hindsight, people. You know that top exists. You place a buy limit there. But what if it goes dippity-doo down more? And this is the other part that's going to be a real bummer for the people that don't like to work. And some guy said in my video, well, you call me a fish or something. I don't know. I just don't. I'm not into the current lingo. I'm too old. Don't get the current. I don't even know what people are saying. I don't know if they're complimenting me or saying something bad. And so when the market opens, this bottom becomes a top. The sellers are supposed to come in there. This is just how it usually works. The sellers are supposed to come in at this top here, but you got a trend line break, half hour. You know, if you slice it thinner than a half hour, you're probably going to overtrade. It's bad enough you're trading. I would put a buy limit here. Now, if I put a buy limit here, I'd probably want to put some buy limits here too. And, well, people would say, well, God, pick a price. Well, they're all good prices. If you like candy, it's all candy's good. Oh, some of it. The candy cane. I never understood the candy cane. That's a Christmas gig. So here is a where this bottom became a top, and that actually did work out. The sellers came in at that baby bottom on the half hour. And this is trading on the clock. So this is another thing is if you're really waiting for the market to create these tops become bottoms, then you're going to be able to, you can see how this is just such a controversial thing. And when it recovers off this low, the sellers are supposed to come in at this bottom, but they don't, and the trend line just broke. It pulls back. That's the perfect setup. Does it get any better than that? I don't think so. Look at that. Trend line break, pull back, find support. Now, it's lack of momentum, and it's just as valid a reason to get in any trade. But look how precisely now, can you carry that forward? Does it work again? Yeah, it works again and again and again. You can take that same rate of change. If we came plunging down into this top, well, I just have a buy limit there anyways. I'll just place a buy limit there and walk away. Because nothing's going to change. You can't change the past. And if the theory works, and some people are challenging me, like, show us your thing works. Okay, well, you know what? Maybe I'll open another demo. And instead of testing scripts, because I'm a heavy script writer, I've written probably, I don't know, thousands of scripts, maybe 1,000, 2,000 scripts. And so I got 3 styles of scripts now. I've got ones that put a blanket orders in there. They're like hardwired. And then I've got the single drops, and then this guy that hacked into the drop and created these, I just call them like basket orders or iceberg. You can create like an iceberg order with those. You could just build your own iceberg order yourself. I mean, the iceberg, the dark pool. I'm surprised the Inner Circle Trader didn't talk about that, but this is, after this double bottom, the moving averages start to turn up, and everybody's like, hey, we're going an uptrend. Okay, sure. Well, I'm going to buy. I'm going to buy today. What do you think? Okay. Well, I put my stop down here. And, damn, they stopped me out, and then it really made that move. I knew we were in an uptrend. Damn, how did that happen to me? Well, I asked that question. Now, it didn't happen to the guy that was entering on buy stops. It did not happen to him. Because after this fill, he put his stop here. But what if you were, oh, dude, I know this. This is it. I got in here. I'm just going to buy and hold. Now, if you trailed your stop to here, say, and you're like, oh, can't lose on that, you're lucky. Or you're just good money management, right? Who's not buying here? Where's resistance? So people are going to sell. The sellers are going to come in here. If I was long this thing right now, I'd take something off the table here. I'd cash out of something. I go flat. And when I do go flat, I put buy limits beneath. If I want to maintain a certain amount of margin in the market, I want to use a certain amount of my margin, and the percentages would vary, but if you're risking 2% of your account, Think more like you're going to risk 0.001 all the way up to 2%. So you have way more flexibility, and you're not locked into these, oh, this setup, man, this has got to happen. I can almost see a batwing in here, or a cipher, whatever they call it. You know, bing, bang, bong, here comes the C to the B to the ba. And you got your stop here, right? This is a classic. That's all those guys are doing at Empowered Trading is they're just buying this area here. This was a big problem. The sellers came in there. Oh yeah, that's resistance. Sure. Scalpers. So that's what I'm into. I'm into scalping. I'm into, the big picture. I don't know. Take me back 3 days. I mean, if this thing can ever get past that, here's a double bottom on the half hour. I'm going to fill this big vacuum. We could still fill all the way up. There's a double top on closing price. The trend line to break on the half hour is, well, I mean, if you got in, the early bird gets the worm and the second mouse gets the cheese. So if you trade this breakout here, this is the early bird trade, and the worm, here's the cheese. Because you break out, you pull back, and here's where you're going to get in for that. So that was the initial break. And using the same anchor point, dragging that forward. And you could even say, well, this is the trend line to break. We're right up against it right now. I think we're going up. I would certainly like to be long for the moment. I'm just speaking from moment to moment. I don't know if you can. It's so funny. I guess I got so excited criticizing that guy. People are like, oh my God, like, who is this guy? I'm just an angry trader. Just seeing so much stuff. I'm waiting to see something that really blows me away. But what's blowing me away is the MT4 platform. To me, the holy grail of trading is the MT4 platform and the ability to drop scripts. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a video after this one about this new drop thing. And the here's what it typically is I had these drops I found years ago on the internet, and it looks like this. Some guy published this, and amazingly there's a thing in here called time right here. So this is this lasts all day long. This is the original drop order script, and it adjusts for 5 pip brokers and 4-digit brokers and 5-digit brokers. So it automatically adjusts here. So this really is a 30 pip stop loss, and this is really the size. And that's to take profit. Risk 50, make 75. And placing all these all over your charts is just a great way to, instead of drawing these lines, these would all be orders. The market's not open now. I can't drop these orders. They won't come in. But imagine you have a stop of whatever. And I took off the pip grid, but let's just say that's 15, 20 pip stop. And you place that buy limit there, you walk away, you come back from lunch, and you're up on the trade. You could have also had the penning in there and be like, you happen to see it happen, it comes down there, and you're like, God, I really like that trade. It did come back to my fill point, or maybe it stopped you out, and you're like, fuck those fuckers, and then you buy at the market here and realize that you fucked up. You put too tight a stop in there. Didn't give it enough room. That is the unspoken undiscussed area of trading is, was my stop too tight? Is it too wide? How many orders do I have? Am I over trading? Am I under trading? There is a thing called under trading. There is a sweet spot. Am I using my margin am I risking too much? Am I looking at too many instruments? Once you have confidence, once you can put a pending order in here, some people have no fear about putting a pending order in here. Some people say, no, I want to see what's going to happen. I don't want to put in a buy limit down here because what if the market keeps going down? I mean, this is the fear that's going to get in the way of objective, clear, concise trade plans that just they're just simple trade plans. And that Akil Stokes guy, I asked him why don't I just put a buy limit down there. He said, well, and he asked the trading room. He goes, can somebody answer that question in the trade room for me? They have live trading room, The chat window, some guy says, because you don't know if it's going to keep going down. Oh boy. Does anybody know? If anybody does know, please email me on the side if they know the next tick that's coming, the next pip, how far that's going to go. And so having too tight a stop because you don't want to lose, you want to lessen your losses, it definitely backfires. So here's the new and improved drops, and these are limit only. So I'm going to call these limit orders. But these consist of buying a basket, and it, depending on how you write it, and it's a little more complicated to edit the script, but it would buy like this: buy. And maybe the stops are, with these, the stops is going to be the same stop across. It's the same as this ticket, but it's just multiple. So where you drop it is your first order, and then there's going to be a series underneath that. So instead of putting one big fat order in, you can put a spectrum of orders in like this, and pick that range up, walk away from that trade, and different dimensions of that: narrow slots, wide slots, scalp targets, swing targets, the whole 9 yards. I mean, if you had bought this is the classic. Retest the next day, Asia opens. Okay, this is the end of the trade in the U.S. Asia opens, we come down, retest. You're buying this. Maybe you start buying here. I probably would start buying all the way down into here and cover this whole range with buy limits, and maybe get half filled. Then you ride it up. Definitely want to take something off the table here, because you know the kickback's coming. Well, you don't know. It could just go rocketing up. But there's typically some of this where people are actually trading. The consolidation is where, okay, people are getting out, people are getting in. This is like, here's the train ride. Then you get to the train station, people get on and off the train. Then they get back on the train. Then they get on and off the train. So there's commerce, and then there is markdown, redistribution, markdown. Again, if you study Wyckoff theory, and a lot of people have butchered that too and overcomplicated it, but Wyckoff is before Gartley. It goes way back. So the 15-minute chart, not for the faint of heart. A little bit too much to look at. If you've got a buy limit down here and you're watching this thing scream down into this, you may need diapers. But you're definitely going to have nice thing about the 15 to the half hour switch is that all those areas hold up. 5-minute chart, and that's why I was freaking out when that guy said, well, you're going to drop down to the 5-minute chart. I thought, well, if you're going to drop down to the 5-minute chart, you're going to need a beer, you know. Okay, British pound. That's it.